where it's building up a bit, and I said that, if you want to find out what happens from this point on, you have to come to Midrand this evening. And then I sort of, fluctuated a bit. But yeah, if you want to know what happens with the story of Dhenukasura, please do come to Midrand. All right. Sorry. Well, I'll tell you the beginning of the story. Well, actually what we discussed this morning was whereas yesterday we were focusing on sort of philosophical aspects, who is Lord Balaram and what's his nature and these types of points which are just of extreme importance. They're just absolutely super important and really wonderful. But what we did this morning, we got into some pastimes of Lord Balaram, some things he actually did. And we told the story, two stories particularly. One was how Lord Balaram helped Lord Krishna on his wedding day in a sticky situation which arose with his, just of that day, his wife. Yeah, Rukmini. What Krishna did, he kidnapped Rukmini. What do you think of that? That's a bit extreme. But actually, according to Vedic culture, it's a form of wedding. Seriously. A young man may kidnap the young lady. Back in the old days, not nowadays. Many of you got some ideas, gentlemen. Please don't. But that's what happened. That's what happened. Well, in fact, she wanted that. And it is a long story. We have many long stories. But she wanted to be rescued, you could say, from marrying the wrong person. Many people who aren't married want to be married. And, they really want. But if you marry the wrong person, then that can be so much worse than not being married. Oh yeah, it can be just a total disaster. And that was the case there. Her brother Rukmi wanted her to be married to a friend of his named Shishupal, who was not a devotee of the Lord at all. He was quite the opposite. So she wrote to Lord Krishna and asked him to please rescue me from the situation I'm being forced into. Occasionally you read in the news how in certain, communities, some particularly young ladies get forced to marry someone who's really much older. It's a bit of a recipe for disaster. Right. So anyway, she didn't want to be married, and she asked Krishna to rescue her. And just on the day, as they're sort of moving, the sort of ceremony is progressing, Krishna came in and just grabbed her and just took her away. And her brother, Rukmi, came chasing after them and tried to confront Krishna, but Krishna overpowered him and to, teach him a lesson, I suppose. Krishna, with his sharp sword, gave Rukmi a special haircut. I'm sure some of you are familiar with the group called the Punk Rockers. Sometimes they have, or I think often, I don't know exactly, but sometimes they have these extraordinary haircuts, isn't it? Right. So Krishna gave him an even more extraordinary one. Like, some punk rocker would be shocked to see, like he had a moustache, cut off half the moustache, leave the other half, and cut off some hair, and, in the front, just leave some hair hanging there. And that sort of idea, if you get the idea. And Rukmini, who's just now become the wife of Krishna and was extremely happy about that, and being saved from, disastrous, wrong marriage arrangement. She, though, Rukmi is her brother, so she became upset with Krishna. That, look what you've done to my brother. You've made him look just completely ridiculous. And he was a Kshatriya, a warrior, and they're very sort of self-conscious in, their profiles as big, strong men. And now with this crazy hairdo. So Rukmini protested to Krishna, and this is on the wedding day. Many of you are married, I know, and the wedding day is, generally it's a very sort of glorious day and happy day and just, that sort of thing. So, but this now, the wedding day was turning into a disaster because the wife, just at the last half hour or something, she's now really upset with her new husband. So Lord Balaram came along and intervened. And it's really very interesting indeed. Because, yesterday we mentioned some things about the character, the personality, the nature of Lord Balaram. The basic point is that he is in the mood of a devotee. And that's sort of an all-pervasive attitude within his personality. So, but there are other things too. And one of the other things, aspect of his character, is that he's highly intelligent. In fact, he's considered the crest jewel of the intelligent. And he displays his intelligence in many ways, but one of the main ways that he does that is that he helps in interpersonal type of crises when two people are just somehow, they're really not getting on. So he's just so expert in interpersonal dealings, not just manipulating situations, but in very genuine ways, helping people to find ways to get through their conflicts. So that's what he did in that case. Yeah. And we won't go through all the details, but the first thing he did was, believe it or not, he chastised Krishna. Now, he's the devotee. Normally, the devotee will not chastise the master. But he did. It's all in just the mood of their relationship and the love they share with each other. But he told Krishna that, how could you do that? This Rukmi, he is now our brother-in-law. which traditionally would be considered really like a brother, actually, not just some, legal arrangement or whatever. So how could you do this? Embarrass him like this? So Rukmini was thinking, yeah, right. Shouldn't have done that. But then he turned to Rukmini and said, look, these Kshatriyas, these warriors, they get into these situations every now and then, and they want to mess each other up as much as they can. And so Rukmini said, yeah, actually you're right. And in this way, in the end, back and forth a few times, but in the end Rukmini was feeling fine. And she was happy, very happy. Now I'm married to Krishna and it's great. And my brother, well, what can you do? That's life. That's life in the Kshatriya world. Like he said, Balaram said, look, everyone has their karma. And obviously that was his karma to end up like that. And Rukmini, being very intelligent and very educated spiritually, she's sort of forgotten that in the emotions of my brother. Look what happened to him. But now she realized, oh yeah, right, karma. It was his karma. Because, well, actually, Rukmini had mistreated many other people previously. And she knew that. So she had to agree, oh yeah, right. He just got his karma. So let's not get carried away about it. And then the next part that we went into this morning was how, just sort of continuing that story in a sense, but how later, quite a bit later, quite some few decades later actually, then one of Lord Krishna's grandsons married or wanted to marry or married the daughter of that same Rukmini, the brother of Rukmini. Yeah. And there's a bit of a long story, but somehow or other someone suggested that why don't you, Rukmini, have a game of dice, like a gambling sort of thing, with Balaram, because he likes taking part, he likes gaming, and he'd probably have one of these super duper computers if he was living up, take part in gaming on the internet. But yeah, he was into gaming, so challenge him to a dice game, but know that he's very enthusiastic, but he's not very good at it. So you can beat him. So it went back and forth a bit, some, throwing the dice, and at a certain point, Balaram won. But Rukmini said, no, you cheated. And Balaram, he knew I didn't cheat, but anyway, like that, it went a couple of steps further. And, no, you cheated. I did not. Yes, you did. And others joined in. Yes, you cheated. And they sort of kind of overpowered Balaram, you could say, in a certain sense. And Balaram got really angry. And to make Balaram really angry with you, that is a big mistake. Don't do that. Gee whiz. So Balaram, well, if you remember yesterday, let's test you, because I know some of you were here. What does Balaram carry with him? A plough. But he didn't hit Rukmini with a plough. He also carries a club. Yeah. And he hit him with the club on the head. And that was, good night, Rukmini. See you in your next lifetime. Yes, that's what happened. And interesting also, sort of sociological point, Krishna was there. and Rukmini was there. Krishna didn't say anything. He didn't congratulate Balaram or express any appreciation. And he didn't express any regret to Rukmini that, look, you lost your brother. Krishna just was silent. Didn't want to upset anyone. So then we started the story of Dhenukasura. And let's just go through it, why not? This is really quite a story. It's a very nice story. It's from Krishna and Balaram's childhood, when they were living in Vrindavan as little cowherd boys. And this particular pastime of the killing of Dhenukasura took place when they had just turned 6. So they're small boys. But just because they're 6, don't underestimate Krishna and or Balaram. So it happened on the Gopastami day. Those of you who are familiar with our lunar calendar and have been around for a while with us, you would know Gopastami is a festival day. It's an important day. It's a really nice day. And so it's in the Kartik month. It's the second Astami in the month of Kartik, the lunar month. Because a lunar month starts with the full moon, and the full moon goes down to no moon or new moon. And then it goes up again to full moon, and that's the month. That's the lunar month. Basically, more or less from full moon to full moon. So, and the cycle from full moon down or no moon up is about 2 weeks. So this is the Astami, means the 8th day in the second part of the cycle as the moon's going up. That's Gopastami. And in many temples, at least in Vrindavan area, the traditional old temples of Radha and Krishna, on that day, Radharani's feet are shown. She's wearing some sort of dress, but just down to the ankles. So that's when this pastime took place, of Balaram killing Dhenukasura. And, if you're a bit familiar with Srimad Bhagavatam, you would know that Srimad Bhagavatam is about Krishna. It's very much about Krishna. And so when you read through, particularly the 10th canto, which is like the biography of Krishna in 90 chapters, then you'll see Krishna's just figuring practically every time, just the whole time almost, but not the whole time. There are different pastimes in which Balaram figures as the main figure. Let me just tell you what they are. There's this one, the pastime of Balaram killing Dhenukasura. Then there's, Balaram killing Dhenukasura. Then Balaram killing Pralambasura. Then these 2 pastimes with Rukmi and Rukmini that I just mentioned. Then there's a pastime of Lord Balaram while living in Dwaraka, because he and Krishna, they left Vrindavan, and they went to Mathura next for 26 years. Then they went to Dwaraka and lived there for about 90 years. So Balaram was with Krishna living in Dwaraka. But then one day, we'll see, maybe we'll go through it shortly, he went to visit the Brijbasis, the residents of Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, he went back to Vrindavan. and he associated with the residents there, and that's a very nice description. And during that time, he, with his, not club, but plough, he managed to drag the city of Hastinapur towards the Yamuna River, which to this day runs just by, well, it's now called Delhi, and the whole city got moved, like 100 meters or more, by him with his plough. And a couple of other things happened also while he was there in Vrindavan. Then just after that is the story of him killing. A lot of killing goes on. Dvivida the gorilla, who's a very mysterious person. And we talked about that this morning. Dvivida the gorilla, he lived at the time also of Lord Ram, and he was a devotee of Lord Ram, but he got into bad association and he became antagonistic towards the Lord. And then the final one, there may be a couple more, but just in this short list I have, is Lord Balaram killing Romaharshana Sutta. A lot of killing. Don't mind too much. Yeah, a lot of killing. But it's killing demons, which is good. But it's all pastimes. These are pastimes of the Lord. And even the people who are killed, they're benefited greatly. So, devotees enjoy, even devotees who are more on the sort of, if Mozambique attacked South Africa, they would not volunteer to join the army. That sort of person, devotee. But they relish, they enjoy hearing about Krishna killing many demons, and they enjoy hearing about Balaram killing demons. And the story of Balaram killing Dhanakasura is a real classic, actually. Let me read one verse. See, Balaram is the main person here in this pastime. He and Krishna and the cowherd boys and cows on this day, the Gopastami day. They are herding the cows, they're taking them down to the south from Nandagram, where Krishna was living at that time, and Balaram. And they're going down, and they pass a forest called Talavan, which is still sort of there. I mean, there's actually no forest as such there, but there's a temple and there's some trees left. Some of the old forests still exist, but this was 5,000 years ago. So they're going down, and Krishna, of course, Krishna knows what's happening and what's going to happen. So Krishna, seeing this is now, the focus will be on Balaram, Krishna speaks some verses glorifying Balaram. Let me read at least one or maybe two. I'll read two. This is 10th canto, chapter 15. I'll read verses 5 and 6. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Ahoami Deva Vara Mararchitam Padambujam Te Sumana Polarhanam Namantyupadaya Shikabir Atmanas Tamo Pahatyai Tarujanma Yat Kritam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O greatest of lords, this is Krishna addressing Balaram as the greatest of lords. O greatest of lords, just see how these trees are bowing their heads at your lotus feet, which are worshipable by the immortal demigods. The trees are offering you their fruits and flowers to eradicate the dark ignorance that has caused their birth as trees. Yeah. So we might think, and when people read this or hear about it, they may think that, oh, this is just some sort of poetic, imaginary expression that, oh look, the trees are bowing down. But actually the trees are bowing down. Yeah. Because the trees are actually great devotees from their previous lifetimes. They're very great devotees, and therefore they've had this opportunity to now be born right in the middle of the pastimes of Krishna and Balaram. It's absolutely incredible. And of course it's mentioned here, they're doing this, they're bowing down to Balaram to eradicate the ignorance which has caused their births as trees, because trees, it's one thing, an animal, but it's another thing, like a plant or a tree. Their consciousness is so covered over that they can't speak. At least animals, dogs can bark, etc., and whine and all that. But the trees, what can they do? But Prabhupada made the point, we shouldn't think that trees are just not unconscious, they just don't have consciousness. Prabhupada gives the example of trees growing and they hit something, that may be the branch of another tree perhaps, or maybe the roof of a house, it may be, bang. So what do? They go around in many cases, and Prabhupada says this is a conscious decision on the part of the tree. Or another thing, the sunflowers. Here in South Africa we have loads of sunflowers, and I don't know if you've ever watched it or if you're aware, but the sunflowers in the morning, they're facing the east, where the sun's coming from, and then the sun goes to the west, and the sunflowers turn around. And it's not just some sort of mechanical motor function, they're actually turning to follow the sun. So, okay, anyway, so those trees, and just an interesting little point, one time one devotee with Prabhupada was trying to express a mood of humility, at least that's what he thought, and he said to Prabhupada, when I go back to Godhead, when, we could say if, but let's say when I go back to Godhead, I'll probably just be a blade of grass. Like, just useless. Prabhupada responded, you would be so fortunate. Because the blades of grass in the kingdom of God are way beyond us, including in intelligence, and they can also move and speak and, Right, so then the next verse says, I'll just read the translation. O original personality, again Krishna's addressing Balaram. O original personality, these bees, they're bees buzzing around Balaram because he's wearing a garland. It is one of the sort of dangers of being a regular garland wearer. That sometimes the bees do congregate, and it can be quite awkward or worse than awkward. So, O original personality, these bees must all be great sages and most elevated devotees of yours, for they are worshipping you by following you along the path and chanting your glories which are in themselves a holy place for the entire world. Though you have disguised yourself within this forest, O sinless one, they refuse to abandon you, their worshipable Lord. So the comment on this, which is given by Prabhupada, is that actually, they are great sages and devotees in their previous lifetimes. And now, like the trees, they were also great devotees. They got their opportunity to be there with the Lord. So the bees are also, they are great devotees from their previous lifetimes. And they're following Balaram, not just because, like some regular bee, they like sweet things or, that sort of idea. But they're actually worshipping him and buzzing as bees buzz. But their buzzing, it's said a little later on, their buzzing is actually they're chanting Vedic hymns of glorification of Lord Balaram. So, it's such a beautiful situation. It's just incredible, actually. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, and they're not going to sting him when they come around us. Sometimes, it can be a bit nasty. But not these ones. They refuse to abandon Lord Balaram, but they don't sting him. Yeah. So, let's see. Well, let me just read another one. This earth has now become most fortunate because you have touched her grass and bushes with your feet and her trees and creepers with your fingernails. And because you have graced her rivers, mountains, birds and animals with your merciful glances. But above all, you have embraced the young cowherd women between your two arms, a favor hankered after by the goddess of fortune herself. So it's just an amazing situation, beautiful situation. And Krishna is appreciating Balaram and helping us to appreciate Lord Balaram. So anyway, there they are, passing by, just nearby this forest called Talavan, which in those days was a substantial forest with many fruit-producing trees. Yeah, and the cowherd boys who are with Krishna and Balaram, then they smell the aromas of these fruits coming from the forest. And they say to Krishna and Balaram that we would, Shri Krishna Balaram Ki Jai, we would like to eat those fruits. Would you help us get them? They are great devotees. They're very, very just topmost devotees, totally selfless. Why would they ask the Supreme Lord, hey, can you help me get some fruit because I want to eat it? They would never say that. Actually, what they want to do, they want some help to get some fruit so they can offer it to Krishna and Balaram. But they know if they say that help us get some fruit because we want to offer it to you, Krishna and Balaram will say, no, we're okay. We have our lunch boxes. We talked about that a lot this morning. I guess we should mention it again. Krishna and Balaram, they have transcendentally magical lunch boxes. We have all been at school, haven't we? Some of us are still at school, aren't we? And at least my mother, she would make up a lunchbox for me. Yes. A few sandwiches. So Krishna and Balaram, each one of them has a lunchbox. but they are transcendentally magical lunchboxes. It may look like your typical lunchbox you buy from wherever you get lunchboxes, but it's magical. So inside, there's every type of fruit you can imagine, at least the nice types. You know what you call it? Alfonso mango. Did you ever try an Alfonso mango? If not, you have not lived in terms of eating experience at least. They're just, you can't believe it. Someone must have poured sugar, but no, they're mangoes. And others, other types of fruits. They're all there, as much as Krishna or Balaram wants. Not just one little piece or something. Plenty. And other types of fruits. And every type of hot vegetable preparation. And we always ask devotees, what's their favorite? What's your favorite? Sabji? Paneer? Palak paneer. Paneer and spinach. And what's yours, Prabhuji?
Manchurian kofta.
Wow. Got good taste. And what is yours, Motherji? Yes.
Honey potato.
Oh, okay. All right, that's good. If we ask children, a lot of children say rice and dal. Let us ask this young lady here, what's your favorite prasadam?
Rice and puri.
Rice and puri. Ah. And dal also, or no dal? No dal. Anyway, so all these things, they're all there in Krishna's and Balaram's, in their lunchboxes. And so many other types of vegetable preparations. Just as many as you can think of, and many you can't think of. Like on Govardhan Puja Day, in Mathura, in the Dwarkadish temple, as I understand, they still offer at least 3,000 different types of at least vegetarian preparations. And including many types of vegetables. Yeah, amazing. But they are all in Krishna's lunchbox. All 3,000 of them. And as much as they want. All right, anyway, so much for that. Don't worry, prasadam will be served in due course. So the cowherd boys, they knew that Krishna and Balaram would refuse if they said, well, we want to offer it to you, but it's going to be difficult to get, so could you help us? So they didn't say that, they said, we want to eat it. Can you help us get it? So Krishna and Balaram said, sure, right. But actually they were going to then just turn around and offer it to them. Right, yes. So now the thing is, the crucial thing, is that Dhenukasura, this demon, horrific person, total atheist and just highly abusive person, just really the worst of the worst practically. He was living in that forest in the form of a donkey. But not just your everyday donkey. Occasionally, if you're driving in the countryside, like in the Free State, places like that, you see people with a donkey, with a little cart and, carrying on. But this was a gigantic donkey. And he was as strong as, would you believe, 100,000 lions. Yeah, That was Denakasura. He was such a nasty person. He did not, he's living in this forest with all these fruit trees. And he would never eat any of the fruit. But he would not let anyone else take the fruit and eat the fruit. See, this is not nice, is it? It's a very envious type of mentality. In fact, if people or even if birds came flying in to eat some fruits from the tops of the trees, he would kill them. I mean, he was so big, he could reach beings on top of the trees. So this was Denakasura. Very nasty. So they went, Krishna, Balaram, cowherd boys, into the forest. And Balaram took hold of one tree trunk. And Balaram, of course, he is the embodiment of all physical strength. That's what Bala means. Means he embodies all the strength that there is. Yeah. So he grabbed the tree trunk of one fruit-bearing tree. It may have been one of the tal trees, because the forest is named after this particular variety of fruit-bearing palm, actually. But anyway, he grabbed hold and shook it so violently, devotees and friends, the whole planet shook. Even here in Johannesburg. If you check the newspapers from 5,000 years ago, you may be able to read that one day on Kopastami, whatever year it was, the whole place just shook like mad. And Denakasura was having his midday nap, not far away. But when all the shaking happened and there was a noise, he was woken up and he became very angry. Who is the rascal who has come into my forest? So he came running over, and as he was running, he was making a very strong donkey noise. You know what I mean, right? Donkeys. Who can you demonstrate, please? Are you too shy? You're not a shy person. Or should we just leave it up to your imagination? Anyone want to volunteer to make a loud donkey sound?
Yeah.
Thank you. You're not shy, you're not frightened, ready for anything. But it was much, much louder than that. It was like, just booming sound. And it was very ugly. So what happened was, and this is now, it gets really interesting, incredibly actually. He comes running over and sees there is Balaram still holding onto the tree trunk. Balaram, of course, his color is white. So this Denakasura thinks, I'm going to get this white boy. I'm just going to really get him. So he comes racing over, but just as he is just practically on top of Balaram, he spins around and kicks Balaram in the chest with his rear legs. Yes. So then Denakasura, he stopped. He turns around to see what happened to Balaram. Did he get kicked, some distance, or at least is he on the ground? But Lord Balaram is just standing there like, no, life is good. Life is going on. Haribol. Like it had no effect whatsoever. Then listen to this. Balaram grabbed hold of him and threw him 12 kilometers. Yeah. And he landed, Denakasura landed on his head. And he fell unconscious momentarily, but then he got up again and came running back, thinking, that white-skinned boy, he was really strong. I'm going to try, there's a whole other group of young boys, I'll try some of the others. So, what he did, this is described in Garga Samhita. Yeah. First of all, he saw Sridham, who's one of the boys. He's actually Radharani's brother. And he came racing at Sridham to just basically sort of run over the top of him, just trample him. But Sridham, don't underestimate the cowherd boys, whatever you do. Sridham, he has a stick for herding the cows. He hit him with his stick, and it just knocked Denakasura back. Then Denakasura thought, wow, he's pretty powerful too. Let me try another boy. He attacked Subal. Subal punched him in the nose. Then he tried another boy, Stoka Krishna. He carries a rope, which he uses in the cow herding. He whipped him with the rope. Denakasura now is just, what is going on here? Who are these boys? What are they? Because they're really hurting him. Then there were two smaller boys, a cowherd boy named Arjuna, not Arjuna from Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna and Ansu, he came at them, the two of them. They picked him up and threw him on the ground. He got up sort of staggering a bit and tried to attack another two boys, Vishal and Rishabha. They both kicked him hard. I'm sure they would have made the All Blacks. I mean, the Springboks, I should say. New Zealand, of course. So, yeah, they booted him, which just knocked him flying. Then he came running towards another one of the boys. They're all like 5 years old, 6 years. None of them are more than 6. They're all younger than Krishna. And Krishna just turned 6, and Balaram too. So he came running at a boy named Tejasvi. But Tejasvi grabbed him and tried to strangle him. Then another boy, Devaprastha, came up and slapped him. I'm based in Chatsworth, down Durban Way. Believe it or not, but it's true. Yeah, I am. And there's social traditions amongst the people in Chatsworth. If someone slaps you in Chatsworth, it is called if you're the one who got slapped, it's called getting a what happened. Getting a what happened. Whack, wow, what happened. So Devaprastha slapped this Denakasura in the face. And Denakasura thought, wow, what happened? Then there was one little boy, just a little small boy, like 3 or something, something like that. And he wanted to get into the action because, he's a tough young boy with all these other tough young boys. So he didn't know what to do. But he had a ball. and he threw the ball at Denakasura, and it just about knocked him right out. So like this, Denakasura is really in a state. He is just not doing well at all. Then he saw, there's one of these boys who I haven't tried yet. Who was that? Krishna, this dark-skinned boy. Let me attack him. Right, so he went for Krishna. And you know what Krishna did? Krishna picked him up and threw him onto Govardhan Hill. Yes. And he landed on his head and was unconscious for 1 hour. Then he came racing back. Let's see. And swallowed Krishna. But Krishna made himself like a blazing fire. So the demon, on the verge of death, vomited him up. Then the demon assumed his regular form, grabbed Krishna with his horns, and flew into the sky. Devotees, 1.2 million kilometers. And this is not just some, story, just something like that. But when they got up there, Krishna hit him and knocked him down to the ground, and he landed on his head from 1.2 million kilometers. At least Denakasura, one thing we could say, he must have a pretty hard head. So then, devotees, brace yourselves. Are you ready? I don't think you are ready. But anyway, then Denakasura, you know what Denakasura did? He lifted Govardhan Hill and threw it at Krishna. But Krishna caught it and threw it back at him. And Denakasura picked up the hill and threw it back again at Krishna. But then Krishna put the hill back. So now Denakasura doesn't know what to do with these boys. Then he saw Balaram again, the first one that he'd seen. So he ran at Lord Balaram to just run over the top of him. Balaram with his left hand, not his right hand. You know why, right? Because left hand is used for things which are not clean. But the right hand should be kept clean. And Denakasura is definitely not clean. So with his left hand, Lord Balaram caught him by his front legs this time and spun him around so much that the sort of, they call it, I think, G-forces, isn't it? Something like that. Was so strong, Denakasura died just by the force of the spinning. And then Balaram threw him up onto the top of one of the tall palm trees. And Denakasura bounced from the top of one tree to the top of the next, and the next, and the next, down some line until he ended up on top of one of them. But all those tall trees, like dominoes, they all went down, bang, 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 as Balaram was bouncing on top of them. How are you doing? Are you okay? Will you survive this? It is too way out. So then, right. So then, Denakasura, his soul and his subtle body, left the gross material body, and he manifested a splendid and handsome dark form, wearing yellow garments, decorated with a forest flower garland. Then a chariot came from Goloka Vrindavan, the topmost part of the kingdom of God, and a really massive chariot filled with 100,000 personal associates of the Lord, decorated with 1,000 flags, rumbling, the wheels rumbling, 1,000 wheels, pulled by 10,000 horses. Glorious with 100,000 chamaras, studded with many jewels. 12 kilometers long chariot. Beautiful, traveling as fast as the mind, and decorated with many bells and tinkling ornaments, suddenly appeared. Then the demon circumambulated Krishna and Balaram, and then filling the directions with light, he ascended the chariot and went to Goloka Vrindavan. Shri Goloka Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. How's that for a story? It's quite a story, isn't it? Shri whiz, gosh, it's amazing. So, you're all nice devotees. Or, I don't know all of you, but I know many of you. And I know you're nice devotees. And, we pray Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. We pray to Krishna and Balaram that at the end of this life, you return to Goloka Vrindavan. And when you arrive, you never know. Someone may greet you and say, who are you? I'm such and such. Where are you from? From Sandton. Oh, yes, right. The Sandton. Vivu Chaitanya, yeah. And that person may say, you know who I was? I was Dhenukasura. But now I'm here by Balaram's grace. Welcome to Goloka Vrindavan. Oh, Krishna. It really is quite something. So now, I hope we didn't shock anyone too much, did we? Is anyone too shocked here? I don't know what to do if you are. But it's a good sign, actually. I'm going to tell you something now, a little more, you could say down to earth, something more philosophical, and something really interesting. Like we were saying yesterday, Lord Balaram is the first expansion of Lord Krishna. He's the first expansion. Srimati Radharani is the internal potency, the pleasure potency of Krishna, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Balaram's first expansion, she is part of him. I mean, being his expansion means part of him in a sense. And she's his pleasure potency, his complete capacity to enjoy of the Supreme Lord, who he has placed outside of himself to enhance the experience of enjoyment by interacting together. There's Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu is a form of Krishna also, or actually a form of Balaram, you can say. And Mahavishnu, just like every form of Krishna, has his consort. Radha, Krishna, Sita, Ram, Lakshmi, Narayan, Bhumi, Varaha. Every form of the Lord has his eternal consort. Yes, so Mahavishnu he also has an eternal consort. Mahavishnu he's in a mystical trance. And inside, he is interacting with Rama Devi, his eternal pleasure potency, having pastimes together within himself. But otherwise, generally, the consort, the pleasure potency, is outside. Doesn't mean that the Lord has lost now his capacity to enjoy because it's been placed outside. It's still there. So it's, interesting situation. So, but the thing is that these two, Balaram and Radharani, they are the closest people to Krishna. They're the closest. Yeah. Balaram is his first expansion, and the role he takes is brother, elder brother. So, and they're close, they're really, really close. And Radharani is his eternal consort. And their relationship is just completely amazing. They're extremely close. It would really be hard to say who is closer, but they're both extremely close to Krishna. Therefore, they know him well. Like in certain relationships, typically a married relationship, the wife knows the husband so well. And if this happens, he's going to do that. Something else happens, he is going to do something else. And you know what I mean? So she knows how to press his buttons. If she wants something from him, she knows what to say. And he's she's better usually at that, but this is part of the relationship. So anyway, both of them, Radharani and Balaram, both of them are considered the original spiritual master. Because spiritual master means someone who knows Krishna, at least knows about Krishna, like in real detail and really comprehensively, and is therefore able to help other people understand and come closer to Krishna. Yeah, like that. So Balaram is the original spiritual master. And let me just read an excerpt, it'll take just 1 minute or maybe 2, from the Krishna book, chapter 2. Prabhupada says, in the Upanishads it is stated, Nayam Atma Bala Hinena Labhya. The purport is that one cannot attain the supreme platform of self-realization without being sufficiently favored by Balaram. Bala does not mean physical strength, although he's extremely strong physically too. No one can attain spiritual perfection by physical strength. One must have the spiritual strength that is infused by Balaram or Sankarshan. Ananta or Shesha, these are names of Balaram. Sankarshan, Ananta, Shesha. Ananta or Shesha is the power that sustains all the planets in their different positions. Materially, this sustaining power is known as the law of gravitation, but actually it is a display of the potency of Sankarshan, Balaram. Balaram or Sankarshan is spiritual power or the original spiritual master. Therefore, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, who is an incarnation of Balaram, who is actually Balaram himself in another form, is the original spiritual master. And the spiritual master, meaning today or in the line, the spiritual master is the representative of Balaram, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who supplies spiritual strength. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is confirmed that the spiritual master is the manifestation of the mercy of Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Rama. What are we going to do? 12 o'clock. We're going to have our tea. Good. Okay. Well, we've got a couple of minutes. Depends which clock you're following. It's a bit behind. So let's see, what should we say? What should we do? Anyone have a... I told the story yesterday, didn't I? Of the conversation with Prabhupada, Madhudvisa. I told that. So I shouldn't tell it again. Let's see. Well, let me just mention one other thing. It's a really interesting thing. In terms of the pastimes and the relationship, that when Krishna appears in any form, he appears in so many forms, generally Balaram appears with him, as Radharani does, generally. So when Krishna appeared as Lord Ramachandra, then Lord Balaram appeared as Lakshman. But now there's a difference in their relationship. Balaram is the older brother. So he's like, older brother traditionally is considered representative of the father. And when the father passes away, he actually takes the role of the father in like managing the family. So Lord Ram was the older brother, Lakshman was the younger brother. Although Balaram appeared before Krishna, he's the older brother. Krishna's the younger brother. You know what happened? Well, what happened? My gosh. Listen to this. Lord Ram, there were different incidents. There were 3 incidents, actually, which Lakshman was very dissatisfied with his brother, with Lord Ram. First was when the magician took the form of a deer, and Sita, like very beautiful little baby, little deer, and Sita became attracted and wanted the deer as a pet, and asked Lord Ram, or sort of told Lord Ram, get him for me, please get him for me. And Lord Ram went to get the deer. But Lakshman told him, don't do it. There's something is wrong. This deer is just too beautiful. Just leave it. But Sita was insisting, so Lord Ram went. And then the two of them, Ram and Lakshman, ended up leaving Sita alone for a while. And she got kidnapped by Ravana. And Lakshman thought, what? That was the wrong idea. I knew it was the wrong idea. But what can I do? I'm the younger brother. So Lakshman thought, right, next time I'll be the older brother. And I'll see, everything's taken care of properly. Second time was when Sita's rescued, but Ram wants her to walk through fire to prove her purity. And Lakshman says, listen, there's no need. She's pure. Of course she's pure. So, and no one's going to build a fire so she can walk through it. And Ram says, Lakshman, someone is going to build a fire. You're going to build a fire. And Lakshman thought, oh, not again. It's a wrong decision again. But he built the fire. Then in the end, third time, but again he was thinking, next time, I'm going to be the older brother. And the third time was when Lord Ram wanted to exile Sita because the Dobiwala, or the laundryman, complained that this Ram, he's got low standards. He accepted his wife back after she had spent time with another man. I would never do that. Well, actually, no, he said, my wife spent some time with another man. I kicked her out permanently. But not this Ram. He didn't do that. He took her back. Just look at his low standards. So Ram decided, okay, I must exile Sita. And Lakshman, so he discussed it with Lakshman, and Lakshman said, don't do that. There's no need. Everybody knows. She's totally pure. And, who's going to take her away into the forest and just leave her there? No one's going to do that. And Ram said, what did he say? Someone is going to do it. Lakshman, you're going to do it. And Lakshman had to do it. But that was the end, third time. Third time means that's it, finished. So he said, right, next time I will be the older brother. So next time, as Krishna and Balaram, he was the older brother. And the time after that, he was Lord Nityananda, who was even much older than Lord Chaitanya. So he can look after, that's his servants, to look after Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, if they get a bit carried away with situations.